2,000 years ago, a man ruled over 70 million people. He commanded armies. He controlled an empire that stretched from Scotland to Syria. And every single night, after the battles, after the politics, after the chaos, he sat alone and wrote in a private journal. Not for fame, not for history, just to remind himself how to be a better human. That man was Marcus Aurelius. And that journal, we call it Meditations. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Marcus Aurelius never planned for anyone to read this. These were notes to himself, raw, honest, sometimes brutal, which is exactly why they hit so hard. These 5 quotes aren't feel-good Instagram captions. They are operating instructions for a life that actually means something. Let's get into it. Quote 1. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius was deep. This is the quote that Ryan Holiday built an entire best-selling book around. The obstacle is the way, and for good reason. It might be the most counterintuitive piece of advice ever written. Marcus wasn't being poetic here, he was being strategic. As emperor, he watched people crumble under pressure constantly. They would hit a wall, a setback, a failure, a closed door, and stop. They treated the obstacle as a reason to quit. Marcus saw something different. He saw that every obstacle, when studied closely, contains the exact action you need to take next. Here's a modern example. You want to start a business, but you don't have money. That obstacle, lack of funding, forces you to learn negotiation, resourcefulness, and lean execution. Skills that a well-funded competitor never develops. The constraint becomes the competitive advantage, or you lose a job you loved. The obstacle forces you out of comfort, out of complacency, into a version of yourself you never would have found if the job had just continued. The obstacle is the way, every single time, if you're willing to look. Quote 3. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This one should sting a little. We live in an era of infinite discussion and minimal action. Podcasts about productivity, threads about discipline, YouTube videos about becoming your best self, including, yes, this one. Marcus Aurelius would have very little patience for all of it. He wrote this line as a rebuke to himself, by the way. He caught himself philosophizing, theorizing about virtue, debating what the ideal life looks like. And he called himself out. Stop talking, start being. The Stoics had a word for this: praxis, the bridge between theory and action. Knowledge without action isn't wisdom, it's entertainment. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your self-improvement is consuming versus applying? How many books have you read about habits without actually building one? How many videos have you watched about discipline while lying in bed? Marcus's challenge is simple and ruthless. Whatever you know the right thing to be, go be it. Now, not after the next video. Now. Quote 4. Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. In the Roman world, a man's word was essentially his currency. Break it once, and you lost everything: alliances, trust, influence, reputation. Marcus understood this at the macro-political level, but he also understood it at the deeply personal one. Self-respect, he believed, is not something the world gives you. It is something you either earn or forfeit, one decision at a time. Every time you say you'll do something and don't, you chip away at it. Every time you compromise a value for convenience, you erode it. And the worst part? Nobody else notices most of the time. This is a private negotiation between you. To Marcus Aurelius, Living meant showing up fully to your actual life, your real relationships, your real work, your real purpose, without flinching. It meant doing the hard thing when the easy thing was right there. It meant being present, genuinely present, instead of mentally somewhere else, somewhere safer, somewhere more theoretical, somewhere you could never be embarrassed or hurt. He believed most people spend their entire lives in preparation for living rather than actually doing it. They're waiting, always waiting, for the right moment, the right circumstances, the right version of themselves, and the clock, he knew, does not wait with them. Here is the real fear Marcus is naming. And it's not what you think. We talk about fear of death a lot. Philosophers, religions, therapists, everyone has a framework for it. But Marcus is pointing at something quieter, and honestly, far more common. It's the fear of beginning, the fear of trying and failing, the fear of being seen, wanting something and not getting it, the fear of committing to a path and discovering you chose wrong, the fear of being fully alive, exposed, imperfect, all in, instead of hovering at a safe distance from your own life. Think about the dreams you have quietly shelved, the conversations you keep almost having, the version of yourself you can picture clearly but have never actually attempted. What's stopping you? Be honest. It's rarely a real barrier. It's almost always fear dressed up as practicality. Fear wearing the costume of not yet and someday and when things calm down. Marcus watched men, powerful men, intelligent men, die with their potential intact, fully preserved, never used. And he considered that the greatest tragedy a human life could contain. There's a word the Stoics used for this, amathia. It's often translated as ignorance, but it's a specific kind of ignorance, the willful kind. The choice not to see what you already know. Choosing comfortable blindness over uncomfortable clarity. Amathia is knowing that you're not really living and choosing every day to keep not living. Because the alternative, actually beginning, actually committing, actually stepping into who you could be, requires you to risk something. Marcus had zero patience for amathia, in himself or anyone else. He wrote meditations as an antidote to it. Every entry was an attempt to shake himself out of the comfortable fog of routine and back into genuine engagement with his life. He was the most powerful person in the Western world, and he still had to remind himself daily, you are not guaranteed tomorrow. Act like it. So what does this mean for you? Right now, today. Here is the question Marcus is really asking. Translated into your life, what are you postponing? Not in a vague motivational sense. Specifically, what is the thing you know you should be doing? The person you should be calling? The project you should be starting? The conversation you should be having? The life you should be building? That you keep putting off for reasons that, if you're being ruthlessly honest, are mostly just fear. That thing. That specific thing. Marcus would tell you that your fear of death is irrelevant. You will die when you die, and there is very little you can do about that. But your fear of beginning, that one is entirely under your control. You can walk through that door at any moment, including this one. He is not asking you to be fearless. The Stoics never claim that. He is asking you to be honest about what you're afraid of, and then to refuse to let that fear be the thing that writes the story of your life. Because here is the truth, and Marcus knew this better than almost anyone who ever lived. The only thing more painful than trying and failing is reaching the end and realizing you never really tried. That is what he feared, not the grave, the unlived life that leads to it. Don't let that be you. Marcus Aurelius had every reason to be cynical. He ruled an empire that was crumbling. He lost children. He was betrayed. He was sick for most of his later life. And still, every morning, he picked up his journal and wrote his way back to clarity, back to purpose, back to the kind of person he wanted to be. Meditations is not a self-help book. It is a man arguing with himself, in public, forever, refusing to let himself off the hook. That's the real lesson from all 5 quotes. This is not something you read once and apply forever. It's a daily practice, a daily return. If even one of these lines landed for you, write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see it. Let it irritate you a little. That irritation, that's Marcus doing his job. Subscribe for more Stoic philosophy and self-mastery content.